Hey everyone, welcome to a new segment we're doing, and I think it's kind of fitting that this new segment, we're going to title it Meet the Artist. And who better to have on here than the fairy god himself? I didn't call you fairy godmother,
Good one.
Robert. So Robert and I got to know each other about 3 or 4 months ago, I'm guessing, when I was actually a guest on you can brand it. It's your No BS
Photo buzz.
Yeah, No BS Photo Buzz, and I was
Mm-hmm.
a guest on that, and we chatted and
Mm-hmm.
ruffled the feathers a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's where, if I can use this word, I hope I don't offend you too much. I would say that's where we became friends. Um, or
Pretty much.
at least colleagues that at least a colleague that I've not pissed off yet. So
Yeah, yeah.
that could happen. It will happen. Um, that's why this new YouTube channel and live stream that we have, yours is No BS, and mine's called a bit overexposed. And I think anybody that knows me knows that that phrase has very little to do with photography. So anyway, I'm truly excited to learn more about you. We've talked a little bit about it, but I'm really excited to learn about your fairy program. And let me mute. Yeah, we're gonna dance. Let me mute everyone real quick, and then I will. Hang on. I don't know how to hit the mute everyone. Why does it not? Shouldn't I have a really simple button here, Robert, that says mute everyone?
Not today.
Boy, no kidding. So everyone, let's make sure you mute yourself.
Maybe tomorrow.
Right. So
That's a song, by the way.
yeah, Lori, maybe since you're on there and you're a co-host, you can look in there and see if you can figure out how to mute everyone, except me and Robert. There used to be right down here on the bottom, it would say mute everyone. So Robert, looks like you're muted right now, that now you're unmuted. So everyone, if you would mute yourself, and it looks like it's just you, me, it says now Kim is muted. So, okay. So anyway, Robert, before we started dancing, I was excited to learn that, you had on some level, and I'm going to let you talk about that. It's not fair for me to, but some level of significance with really even this group existing. Something I had no idea that you knew. So, hello, microphone. I had no idea that you knew Andrea, but I once I did get to know you, I did recognize some similarity in y'all's work. That said, okay, well, I thought at the time, well, it's just. Then I noticed you were in this group. Said, okay, well, Robert's been in that group, and he learned a little bit, maybe from her and others. And anyway, so that's really what I'm excited to talk about. The last thing I'm going to say at this moment is this group kind of ruined me, and so your work ruined me. I haven't done a fairy session in over 3 years. And it is still top of my list of things that I want to do, but I don't like to do things halfway. And the ones that I did do, I just didn't like what I was producing.
Okay.
And so I'm eager to learn today, what I need to do to create better images. And I wouldn't be here today if I wasn't in love with the images from Catch the Whimsy, Chase the Whimsy, and that kind of thing, and that work. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you and your fairy journey?
Okay, sure. It's good to be here. By the way, you had mentioned you'll piss me off. You already did piss me off. I just never let it get to me. So I have a pretty thick skin. Dan Kennedy, my favorite guru, marketing guru, said decades ago, he says, your ability to be successful is directly correlated with your ability to be immune to criticism or anything of that nature. So people are asking to be admitted. I'm admitting.
Yeah, I got that. Yeah. So if you see it, get it. If not, I will as well. It's funny as Lee helps out here in the studio, and I just saw him sneak out the door real quiet. So I guess I don't know why. I guess he felt like he needed to go sit in his car and watch this instead of hanging out in here with us. So
maybe I pissed him off already. So.
Right. Yep.
I'll give it a quick 2-minute bio. I'm 65 years old last week, so I'm officially a senior citizen, but I still feel like I'm 33 and I got a lot of years left in me. I was just telling my buddy who's a real estate guy, and he was talking about the same idea. He says, yeah, he says, I'm not going to retire. I'm going to work till I'm like at least 80 something, but I feel the same way. And I feel as I progress, if I'm on the right path, which I feel I am largely, that sense of mastery and getting better and better at all aspects of running the photography business, they improve. And it's really kind of cool. It's like I'm becoming a master sensei or something like that. And I don't say that with a sense of bragging or huffing and puffing and whatnot. So I say it because, well, there's an element of truth to it. So I've been running a photography studio since 1982 when I was quite young. 1991, I quit drinking. I went to AA. I say that because it's relevant to my story. In 1995, I married my wife, and she was a full-time accountant. And I asked her if she wanted to run the studio with me, and she said yes. And I latched onto marketing via Dan Kennedy right away. This is important because Dan Kennedy's magnetic marketing program, 1998, I found it online. That's way in the early days of pre-eBay. I found a used copy from a guy in Chicago, and I listened to this sucker at least a dozen times. It was 8 cassettes and a manual. And the core message he said was marketing is always 3 steps: your market, your message, and media, in that order. So I can't hear you, Chris.
I muted myself. I was asking Lori to tell Lee he can come in. It looks like he's out on the patio.
I was trying to lip read. So, but anyways, it's important to realize that this is really key. And I'm going to preempt my story with this because I think it's an important fundamental principle. And that is that you need to have a market. It's big enough to get your arms around. If it's too small, you won't make any money. And you also have the right message. And this is where the fairies come in, the right message in order to bring it to the right media to pitch it so that you can get responses. So I went in with that mindset when my wife and I were early married, and it's worked out wonderful. Created like the baby's first year wall panel, creative kids club, 5-year family plan. So I always had that mindset of creating offers. And I see a lot of photographers doing that. And in 2005, there were fairy portraits being admitted in the print program at WPPI. And I told my wife, I said, we should try those just for fun. We bought some cheap wings and some outfits, and we started shooting them. I had a $3,000 credit with a local newspaper. And I told her, I said, why don't we create a thing? We'll do fairy pictures every 20 minutes, bada boom, come in and do a few pictures. And we'll sell it for $37. And that's what we did. And we sold out. And that was the early days of creating a widget. So that's widgetizing, creating an offer. And from that point on, every year it grew and it grew and it grew. In 2016 or so, we started bringing them out of town, not sure if it was going to be a thing. We thought, okay, in our city, they're popular. People know me as the fairy photographer. But we went to another town and boom, exactly the same results, exactly the same sales. And then we went to another town, same thing. And we've been to 4 separate cities, no more than 6 hours away from our studio, the most 6 hours, on average 3 to 4 hours. We get the same results. We go in, we'll book 20 to 30 fairies. We get an average of $500 to $700 per within 2 days. The most we've ever done was 42 with about $25,000 in sales. So it's kind of a combination of high volume, sort of, with it's a pretty high quality session as far as I'm concerned. And
I refer to our Santa sessions, and they're probably a little longer than yours, as volume boutique.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Volume. I have heard Nancy Tilburg mention that, and when she does dance schools, and she does volume boutique.
Yeah.
She gets an average of $140 per, when the average in the industry is about $40 per, and she does volume. And I like that idea. I like that idea because it's very reliable. I don't have to sell too hard. I don't have to spend a lot of time selling, and it's predictable. I literally can do this. I could, if I wanted to. I don't want to, but if I wanted to, I could literally schedule. I can just drive across our country. I could do it in the U.S. I know I can, as long as there's a city of about 100,000, maybe 70,000, and with families, kids, and they got money to spend. They will spend the money on their kids. Predominantly little girls. We do get boys too, and when I think of I've always wondered, why is it they resonate with these, and the moms and the grandmoms, and they come in. We are selling in a vacuum. They cry. They're so excited. And they're ready to buy.
And I mean, that sounds just like our Santa stuff, and
yeah,
and I don't know. That's what I hope to learn today from you, Robert. Is, I mean, we're as good as anybody at building the Santa program and creating that. It's just we don't almost even have to think about it.
Yeah.
But I just
automated.
I struggle to figure out the story to tell.
Right.
For the fairy images, and you talk about travel. You talk about traveling all over the country. I'll share a little secret that Lori and I what we want to do is we don't want to have a house anymore. We want a huge motorhome, and we'd love to be able to park it here behind the studio. And when we do Santa, we're here for 2 or 3 months, and then we hit the road for 6 months at a time.
Nomads.
And do fairies or do something at visiting other studios, kind of like tattoo artists do. Where tattoo artists will travel to another city and set up shop as a guest tattoo artist, and people will come in. So
you could do that.
I love the way that you do it and that you travel. So you might remind people where you're located.
We're in Sudbury, Ontario, which is a 4-hour drive north of Toronto. It's beautiful up here. We get vicious winters, which is why we have a place in Costa Rica. We spend 4 months there in the wintertime. And we come back, we start booking our fairy days while we're in Costa Rica. We start getting bookings and we get payments while we're there throughout the wintertime, because we start doing our fairy days in May, June, July, through the fall. And you talk about the Santas, and let's go to comparing Santa and fairies in the experience. I believe it touches people at a deep, deep subconscious level. There's something symbolic, there's something universal, there's something about it that applies to both the childhood innocence that goes with seeing Santa, or the childhood innocence that goes with having a fairy session. Although with the fairy session, it's really gender specific with girls. And again, we get occasional boys in, and we have nights. The boys often are like, I'm not doing this. And I show them the picture, the Game of Thrones with the knife, the sword, and they're like, oh yeah, no, I'm in.
Sorry, crap, I have no idea what that is. That was crazy. Okay, hang on, let me just mute.
What was that? Tristan's in the house. There's Rick. How you doing, Rick? Just nod.
Okay, that's good.
Or give me a thumbs up.
Okay, I think I fixed it. That was on my end. My browser went nuts and started yelling. Right. Okay.
Are you sure it wasn't the mushrooms you took 2 hours ago?
Boy, if it did,
they weren't
very good ones.
So anyways, there's something iconic about it. And I've thought about it many, many, many times. And I didn't even know Santas were as big as they were up until only in the last year, when people were explaining to me about, like Larry Hertzberger. I interviewed him last year, and I'm like, holy crap, this is real equally with the, I had no idea. But it's so powerful that it moves the parents to tears, and they are emotionally invested in it. And we got the same thing.
Is that during the session? Is that during your review? I assume you're doing
during the session.
I assume you're doing in-person sales for these clients.
We do some Zoom because we do so many out of town. But my wife is really hard on doing the in-person. But we've been trying Zoom, and we're keeping an eye on the sales. And the sales are not as strong on Zoom, but we really prefer in person.
Agree 100%.
She's quite strict on that one, and she runs a tight ship. So yeah, and there's something iconic about. There's something about the. It's almost like a mythological connection that we have. And I'll speak specifically to fairies, okay? I've always said the little girl who wants to be a fairy is very similar, I believe, in a sense to the older lady in her 20s. She's getting married. She wants the dress and all that goes with the wedding. It's a similar
Oh,
emotional response, I believe.
and that's an interesting way to describe it, because
Hmm.
I don't know that I've heard it described that way. I don't know if Lori's listening to the audio, but I love that.
Yeah,
That gives me a different perspective on thinking about how I'm going to create the experience and make the little girl feel so special.
yeah,
It's like a little girl's wedding day, because she gets
it
to wear
is.
the fancy
It
dress and
is.
the
Yeah,
wings and all of that.
it's very magical. So because they really do believe in fairies, and there's something about it that's universal with that that symbol, that mythology. It's like a mythological connection, and it approximates a deep part of our psyche. And so I have
Right.
not had any reason to see anything contrary to that belief. I'm just exploring that more and more and more. I grew up with four sisters. I'm the only boy in the family. So, I remember years ago, I went and had a palm reading by a psychic lady, and she goes, "You're an artist. You have a lot of feminine energy." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, I'm a man." No. And I'm like,
Right.
okay,
Right.
it's true. I believe I can buy that. I'm comfortable with that, but it was
Sure.
true. And that's possibly one of the reasons why I'm more comfortable around women and or I'm more connected to these fairy portraits. So I've always told people that are getting into this, first of all, you got to like working with children. So if you don't like working with children,
I love it.
yeah.
I love it. Last week, talking about that, I don't think anybody is in here from the workshop we did. We did a Santa workshop last week, and
Hmm.
I photographed a young man, model. We photographed his sister, but for some reason, he and I, just clicked. Um,
How old
and I
is he?
was, he's Lori. How old was Dylan? Is he 8 or 9?
That's a good age.
But he's right there on the touch, and I'll bring the
Yeah.
image up, share it in a minute. But he's right. He's just barely on the autism scale, or I forget the proper way to say it now, dude.
Well, that's why you connected with them.
Maybe it is.
I always
But
connect with people that are on the fringes like that. It's true. It's absolutely true.
there's something so genuine.
I don't know what it is.
I don't either, but yeah, it was magical, and I got the best message you could ever get. Is the mom sent me a message the next morning, said, "Hey, I just want you to know that last night when Dylan and I were snuggling, I guess
Yeah.
it's a thing they do right before he goes to bed. She leaned over and told him, "Hey, Mom, I really had a good time with Chris.
Oh, nice.
It was one of my best days ever."
So
And
so so what does that say to the mom about Chris?
yeah,
Chris is a hero.
yeah, and I think it shows just that we care,
Yeah.
and I can tell that you do in your fairy work as well, or you wouldn't be getting those kind of
Well,
reactions.
in her estimation, you are now more than just this guy that we go to for a business transaction.
Yep,
You're way deeper than that.
agree.
Really.
Yeah,
You know.
it's awesome. I can't wait to have him back. I told him, hey, he modeled for that. I've got a couple of competition images that I want to do,
Yeah.
so I'm bringing him in, and I got
Yeah.
to get Lee is listening. So Lee, I need a vintage bicycle that somebody in the 20s would be riding, a kid, 9 or 10 year old kid doing a paper route. So help me find a bicycle that I can use. I bet you can help me locate one of those. So anyway, so Robert, let me since we're talking about boys with what you do, tell me a little bit about how you do, because that's one of my biggest fears is um, so when we're doing portraits, like if we're doing a a model call, or we're doing a fine art portrait, and we have a deal with your fairy godmother, they sponsor us, and we get a dress in each month, and then we put it out there in the world that we've got these opportunities with this dress,
Hmm.
and so we'll get the little girls come in, but we don't have anything for the boys. I mean, they could wear a
Yeah.
suit or something, I guess. But my biggest fear in that scenario is, am I going to get them to make a big purchase of little Susie in this beautiful gown and beautifully edited fine art portrait? because they don't have something equally of little Johnny who's sitting there.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's my question is,
yeah.
and if you can, I'd love for you to share your screen. I'd love for
Okay.
you to talk about and share maybe a few images where you've involved little brother, big brother, or siblings, so that you know you can still get a really nice order from the
Yeah,
client when you have to overcome that hurdle of
yeah.
getting the whole family
Okay.
or all of the kids involved.
My feeling is it's not a hurdle. Uh, Parents spend more money on girls when it comes to this kind of stuff. If that was a non-existent thing, there would be literally no wedding industry.
That's fair.
Because if guys were the driving force, we'd be like, all right, we're just going to get married. $200. We're going to go for a hot dog at the stand.
Right. No, I don't
It's a
disagree with that.
celebration. It's a celebration. So I deal with this all the time. It's not even an issue. I don't think about it. And it's not something I ponder. It's just like they're going to spend money on that little girl. Period.
Right.
They won't spend as much on the boy. They'll make it up for him in another way.
Right.
This is way too
A
much.
hunting trip with dad or a new
Something. I
a
don't
new
even think about it.
that's great to know. So then I'm worrying about things that
Yeah.
I guess I shouldn't be worrying about.
By the way, if you're struggling with your fairies, let me know what your main struggle is off later on. Just send me some. I'll give you the best I can in our short time together today, but I can help you out more off camera because I'm willing
Sure.
to do that for you, Chris. So just
Well,
let me know. But
and I appreciate that. I wish I could somehow let's see if we get anybody that will chime in. Um, I wish I could get you here and host a workshop where we could
yeah,
teach a large group of other photographers how to do this because then
yeah,
I secretly get to watch the master in action do his
let's do
thing,
it. Let's make it happen.
and maybe I can make some money off of it, and you can make some money off of it, and we can help. The
Yeah,
real thing that we can do is help others make
yeah,
money off of what we're doing. I mean, that's why we're
yeah.
all here to help each other.
I think we should do a 2-day conference and just deep dive it. So this
When we
is
when we hang up, we're doing that.
this is Andrea's work.
It's stunning.
Now, Andrea, in my opinion, does the best fairies I've seen, bar none.
Can't disagree.
My claim to fame is I trained her, but she's a good student. She far surpassed the teacher.
Yep.
But she was sending me pictures like I remember 10 years ago, and they were like, she had no clue what she was doing, but she was a good student and she learned, and her stuff's very elaborate. So, it's top notch. My stuff, I'll get to the boys in a minute. My stuff like this here is my stuff. Now, when I do a session, maximum 10 minutes. The girls
Really?
come in.
Really?
Yeah, maximum 10 minutes. Well, they have an expiry date, maybe 15, but I have a series of poses. I don't rush them. The parents are sitting there watching. I ask them to just watch. Please don't make any comments. Don't coach. Don't repeat anything I say. They've already been given that information when they book. We send them an email, and we send them an email with a link with a video of me explaining and preemptively managing their expectations. So when they come in, they know, let me do my job. You're not doing the posing. And I'm very friendly. I love kids. And they come in, we have a little fairy village there with lights inside. And I explain to them, there's a fairy that lives there. And she might leave you a gift. There's a little treasure box. And we'll see. And then I show them our big giant jar of fruit jubes. And I asked the mom, I said, can they have one of these? And yeah, the mom says, yeah. And then I open the drawer, which is filled with toys. I open it, it's filled with toys. And I say, when we're done, you can have one of these toys too. And then I close it. Then I say, when we're done, okay, is that good? Okay, go see Tina. We're going to pick out your dress. They go with Tina and the mom. They pick out the dress. They go in the bathroom. They change. They
Now,
come out.
Tina is
My wife.
one of your sisters. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're a team. We're getting to be such an epic team. It's amazing how we work together. And if you don't have a Tina in your life, get an assistant or somebody. If it's hard to keep somebody, you're going to have to find a system where every time you get somebody new, you got to train them. I think
that's a great comment, Lori. Robert just said that I need to get me a Tina. So is that
Lori
okay?
can be your Tina.
Oh, Lori. Oh, she said go for it. She just has to do my laundry.
I got videos of Tina and I working together, and we didn't know what we didn't know what we were doing when we started out. We just figured it out. Now we got a system down, and I literally just look at Tina, and sometimes I give little hand signals, and she knows what I'm asking her to do.
Robert, I want to pause you there because you just said something that I want to make sure just doesn't get glossed over.
What's that?
Because the number one thing that makes us successful in our Santa program is something you just said in your fairy program, and I think that's a lot of my hurdle. You said how you have a system,
Yeah,
and
systems.
and when we do our Santa stuff, it's just like those that have. I know Lorraine, you've been to my Santa workshop. I mean, it is. I mean, I have a script that it's not written, but it's a script that I do with Santa, and it's we go over and over, and we are on task, and we cue off each other.
Yeah,
So that's interesting because I think that's
yeah.
probably a lot what's they walk in and I just kind of feel stupid. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what
You're
I
talking
just
about with
don't
the fairies?
yeah, I just don't know the fairy world.
Yeah. All right. Well,
We'll get there.
you're teachable.
Yes, I'm very coachable. But I'm saying these things because because obviously I'm doing this interview and I want to open it up for questions. But I'm saying these things because I have a funny feeling that's what a lot of other people that are listening here feel as well. They just,
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have a shot list that I follow for Santa.
Yeah.
So I guess you have the same thing. You probably have it memorized.
It's in my brain. Yeah.
I've done over 1,000 Santa sessions, and
Yeah.
probably 950 of them. I've done pretty much the same poses.
And you say the same thing, right?
Yeah, but I still follow my shot list. It's printed out.
And you the script that you say is you never get tired of it? I never get tired of it.
I don't.
Yeah.
I make the same stupid dad jokes 10 times a day, and I'm
Yeah.
laughing, and people
All right,
are looking at me like I'm an idiot.
You want to know my dad joke? I'm not going to say it's a dad joke, but it's a thing that I started saying years ago. When I start shooting him, the mom's there, and the mom is excited,
Right.
and the grandma. I'll start shooting, and it's amazing how the girls get into this. Because I've had girls come in, and then 2 months later, they come in for a family portrait, and it's a completely different girl. And I'm like, what happened? They're different when they come in for fairies. They're focused. They want to do their best. This is really important to them, and I've noticed that.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So psychologically, you've got that working for you. So makes my job. If there would have been a struggle with anything in doing these fairy portraits, I would have addressed it, or it would have been something I would have brought up that this is always continuously happening. There's literally nothing. If there is something and somebody else is doing it wrong, it's something they're doing wrong, and I can usually pinpoint it.
Right.
Because we get the same results, and it's smooth like butter. So, and usually, back to my dad joke thing, usually when I start the first, I've got like the triad of poses: the standing, the kneeling, the sitting in the pond, and on the mushroom. I just follow the same system over and over again.
Right.
But early on, I start posing her, and she's doing really well, and the mom's like, wow, that's not my daughter. But anyways, I'll say, knowing she's feeling that, I'll look to her and I'll go, wow, where did you find her? Was she in a fairy garden? Or did she fall from a cloud? I'll say something like that. And I say it over and over and over again. And I say it with all sincerity because I really mean it. And I say that to make the mom feel good and to get the conversation going between her and I, and also to make the little girl. And sometimes I'll say, okay, look, you're too cute. You got to stop this. This is way too cute.
Right.
And the girl looks at me. She cracks the cutest little smile because, she kind of knows I'm joking, but it's true. And then she'll crack this quirky little smile and I'll get another expression. But things like that, and I'm sure you got your list of
sure.
Repertoire.
Let's talk about a couple of things with yours. And I if you're willing to do it, I am sometimes unwilling to do what I'm going to ask you. I'm curious if you would be willing to show a straight out of camera image as compared to the final version.
Sure.
And then a couple of things a couple of questions I have, and I want some other people to chime in, is I'm losing my train of thought here, but I guess I'm curious a little bit about your wings, for example.
Yeah.
Are they always wearing wings during the shoot, or do you
always?
Okay, so
always.
you don't ever Photoshop wings in later.
I used to for little babies, and then we just such a hassle. We don't even offer it anymore.
Okay, so I'm sure some of us would love to know where you're getting your wings, and then how many different sets or of wings do you have? Um,
Well,
and
you can get a yeah.
how do you keep them on where they're not, falling over and doing all of these kind of
Yeah, they
things?
got two thin metal posts that are wrapped in silk in the back, and it just slips into the dress. They hold very, very well, and they're not a pain for the girl. So
Interesting. So where do you make these wings? Do you
I
purchase
bought
these
them
wings?
years ago, probably 14 years ago.
Do you
I
have a
bought.
pair that handy that you could show us?
Hold on, let me
And why
grab them.
don't you
Hold on.
stop sharing your screen and we can do that? So
Yeah, I'll be
there
right
we
back.
perfect. Okay, so while he is going away, y'all can unmute or you can ask in the chat. What I'll do is I'll ask a couple of more questions. So I'm really curious what questions you guys may have that would help you. Um, for one thing, I should have mentioned. I think he's still in here. If Scott Steele is here, because he is actually the Larry. I don't know that you know, and I know he came in. He was on here briefly, and I don't know that he still is. But Scott Steele is he attended my Texas school, one of my Texas school classes, and he's the king of dad jokes. Oh yeah. And he's the king of bad dad jokes.
Bad
They're so
jokes.
bad. I
Yeah.
quit liking them on Facebook just so the algorithm would quit showing them to me. Sorry, Scott, if you're listening.
My dad
So,
was
so Lori, look at. I want you, Lori, to look while he's showing because he's showing
yeah.
the wings and how they work.
The lady who makes these enchantedforce.com or something like that. I can't remember the website. She still makes them. They're very expensive. I think they're $300-400 a pair, worth every penny. I bought the rights from the girl. You think I would know her name? She in Oklahoma? No, Arkansas, I think. And so I bought the blueprints, what the seamstresses use to make
Right.
stuff. And in my Fairy Masters program, I've included as no charge the blueprints. So I have 4 sets, 2 smaller, 2 bigger.
Okay.
And see that just slips in the back.
Yeah, that's awesome because the ones I've seen like tie on and do all these other things. So.
See, this is a smaller one. So when we never used to do babies. They had to be between the ages of 3 and 9, which I know is a silly thing to do, but we now accept babies as long as they can sit up. And we used to just put the wings in and Photoshop later. Now we don't even offer that. We just shoot them. So like a 2 smaller ones and 2 bigger ones. Good investment as well as investment in dresses, which I think is. We started off with 2 custom-made dresses that are seamstress made for us. Very expensive too, but these things to me, there's no compromising on the quality. I guess the closest corollary I could make to Santa portraits is be like having a sketchy looking Santa.
Right.
It just wouldn't work,
Yeah, like the one picture of me that I have as a Santa. There's no doubt he served time for either kidnapping or
bad Santa.
Yeah, he was terrible.
So to me, the key thing is the wings and dresses, and of course the set as well. And myself when they come in, my wife and I when they come in and they see us, we're all part of the experience. I've had girls over and over and over again, and this happened again. We had a fairy day last weekend down in Barrie, just north of Toronto.
Yeah.
And same thing happened. I'm going through the poses, and the mom's happy, and they're sometimes crying. And then I'm done, and the girl doesn't want to leave.
Yeah. We get more kids crying because they have to leave Santa than we do than sitting on Santa's lap, if that makes sense.
So they really, really, really enjoy it, and that's important. So I know I could be making more in sales. I know I can. I could probably double, triple what I'm selling, and it's something.
So that's a great segue. So I would be curious. What are the main things that people are purchasing? Do you do any albums in 10
We do albums, yeah.
So in 10 or 15 minutes, you're getting enough poses, which in my mind is 11 to do an album. Yeah. There's a photographer. I know her first name. I can't ever remember her last name. And she just recently decided she was done with fairies, and she called her she didn't. I don't even think she called them fairies. She called them storybook sessions. And
Right.
her name's Cammy. I can't think of Cammy's last name. She's down
Don't
in
know her.
Florida.
While you're telling that story, I'm going to go get some albums.
Okay, so Cammy, so those that are listening, she was one of my students at. Was she at Texas School too, Lori? Where did she come? She came here. No, she was here, and I mean, more power to her. She has quit doing a lot of the things that she was incredibly successful at, and she's decided, and I don't remember what it is. Shame on me, but she's focused her new genre on whatever it is she loves. I don't remember if it's fine art or whatever it is, but she's really gotten away to an incredible set of series. Okay, so here's one of your albums.
This is the basic event album from Album Epoca.
Okay, so
Uh,
you don't have a story. You
no,
don't follow a story because
no.
what I really and that's where I think I can use AI and Chat
Right,
GPT to write me a story because that's what I
right.
would do is that's what I do with Santa is build poses around a story that they do while they're there, and
Yeah,
then they have a kids book, and then we can sell. In my mind, we can then start to approach sales like we have with our Magic of Santa albums that are so popular.
yeah. I know Ted Linzak, who I interviewed 6 weeks ago for my Fairy Masters program. He also does the Santa, but he does albums, and his albums are really really nice, and he designed them around a story too. But he charges like 5 times what we charge.
Right.
So I just want to get in when I want to get out, and they're happy.
No,
I mean,
yeah, you got to do what works for you. I tell that
yeah,
to my Santa photographer that come here for my classes. All I do is say, hey, this is what we do, and these are the results we get. That
right.
doesn't mean you have to do it our way.
No.
If you want to do a 10-minute session, do a 10-minute session. If you want to do an hour and 30-minute session, do an hour and 30-minute session.
Yeah.
Just make it your own.
Yeah. So, it's true. And sometimes I feel bad because I'm leaving money on the table, but I'm like, "Ugh, how much do I want to put into this?
No,
Uh,
absolutely.
you
So,
know,
so do me a favor again. Pull up real quick because I know that Lorraine's got a question about building sets. So can you show me again real quick a kind of a straight out of camera versus a final edit? I know Andrea, her editing is just freaking amazing, over the
yeah,
top. That's why I'm here on this channel because I loved it so much.
yeah.
Um, so
My
I'd love to see how much. So the before is straight out of the camera.
Yeah, minimal Photoshop action. So I run it through Raw Editor. It sizes down to proof size, but this is what the client sees on the left.
Okay.
So it's half sepia. All my stuff's half sepia.
Okay.
You notice this image? That's Ted. That's one of Ted's shots.
Awesome.
He doesn't do half sepia, and he's getting crazy sales. So it's different for everybody. It's like you said, you got to do what works for you, and if it's not working, do something else. Be
Right.
inspired by somebody else that's doing it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I love what you do there, and see, I would probably, and that's the good thing. We could probably shoot on the same exact set. I bet you and I would,
Yeah.
and the final product that we put out would look, while similar, very different on some different.
So I got the rocks 18 years ago from Studio Specialties. They were out of Montreal, Toronto, Chicago, I believe New York, and LA. They were a big sort of a department store supply place. And
Right.
I don't know that they still exist. Studio Specialties, you can Google them. These places where we get stuff changes all the time, so I can't
Right.
even get the mushroom anymore. So
Yeah,
so
I just make my rocks. I shape them
yeah,
out of foam and
that's all you
then
got to
paint
do.
and then paint them.
Yeah.
I've been working on it for 3 months. I'll go work on it for 5 minutes and then put it away. But I'm in one of Andrea's images. There's a fairy and her brother sitting beside her, and he's wearing jeans and a straw hat and no shirt, and he's sitting on a log.
Hmm.
And I've never seen what that image was straight out of the camera, but
Right.
it wouldn't surprise me if she just photoshopped the log in. But I'm
Yeah.
building a log out of a giant piece of foam, and we'll paint
Yeah.
it and have it in the set as well.
See, if
So,
I got to go add logs, I'm not interested. So my
right.
Photoshop, this image, and I'm not exaggerating, maximum 2 minutes to edit it in Photoshop.
Wow.
So when they order, I sit down, each image 2 minutes, unless they're getting a 40, 30-inch, then I'll maybe take 6 minutes.
Okay.
But I want, it's got to be fast. And I'm not exaggerating when I say I do it in that short of time. You got to get good at Photoshop. Obviously, you got to know your way around. I mean, that
Right.
takes time.
Right.
And I got there. I've been doing Photoshop since '98, so I just cruise on the keyboard the way Eric Clapton cruises on the fretboard, and hopefully.
Right. So Lorraine is asking about the reflection, and I'm curious your answer. I've got a piece of it. I don't remember what it's called, but I didn't use a mirror, and she's asking if it's a mirror. I don't use a mirror because they break too. Yes, they break too easy. So
it's a mirrored plexiglass, which is bendable plastic.
Correct. And you can get those
any window store, glass store.
Okay. Yeah. So any place that does that, and you can buy those in 4x8 sheets, I guess.
I buy mine at 4x4, and we do a fairy day in Pembroke and in Sault Ste. Marie, and we bought one from the glass store there, and we use studios at those towns. So we just say, hey, can we store this here because we're coming back next year?
Right.
Right. So we're all set up. And,
so when you go into a town, how much in today's world, and it's a lot difficult than it was 5-6 years ago, how many sessions are you booking? And then roughly, I'm guessing you're doing your marketing through Facebook?
Facebook, 100%.
So what are you having to spend to, I guess, roughly, and you don't have to give exact numbers.
150 bucks.
Really? Okay. Well, that's good.
I spread it out. So.
And how many sessions are you trying to book while you're at a location?
I'm shooting for minimum 18.
Okay.
If we do less, my wife will start complaining, and I'll say, let's go anyways. I'd rather take the money than leave it.
Right.
And the most we've ever done was 42. We've done all points in between. And I think we get better success in the fall because of Christmas time. And so let's say, for example, let's say I got a fairy day. I'm not giving a specific date, but let's say I got one early November or late October coming up. So we'll put it on the website. This is scheduled. We're coming to Sault Ste. Marie, say, for example. So let's say late November, October. So early September. As soon as September rolls around, I'll run an ad for 7 days. And then I'll also see, we rent the studio from a local photographer. We're good friends with her. We pay her $1,000 plus 10% off the gross.
Wow.
That's because she was the first one we went to.
And what are you trying to average per session? What do you think you're
$500 to $700?
Okay.
That's our goal. And we get it boom, boom, boom. Rarely do we get a Nixie where they only take their 8x10, which is included. And we charge $120 for the session, which includes the session and an 8x10. Okay. Rarely out of 100 or maybe out of 50, one will buy nothing. And they'll just take their 8x10. So we're considering doing also like a 10-pack of digital files, but charging a hefty fee for them.
Sure. Yeah, we charge for our Santa. We will do a digital pack, and I think it's 20 images, but I think we're at $4,500 for. Lori just said she thinks it's $5,000. But when someone buys that, a lot of people will buy them because they've had a traumatic experience in their life where they've lost files or they've had a fire and they've lost images in their home and they've not ever been able to get them back. So one of the things that we do is if someone buys that digital package, that doesn't mean that they don't want us to print things. What we do is then offer them anything in our price book for 50% off.
Okay.
So then they can still get us to do an album or something like that.
Yeah.
And usually we will get, I would say we probably average 1.25 a year that will do that. Our largest sales we've ever had have came from somebody who did that. And then they bought albums and wall portraits, and they just wanted those files for archivable reasons.
Yeah, we do give them social media files, which is 1,000 pixels with just the studio brand in the corner, nothing major. But they got to buy a print, whatever they get a print of or whatever goes in the album.
Yes, we do.
We give them that.
We do.
And people are happy with that. And, I know some people are making prints, but, whatever.
Yeah. nothing
I'm
you can
trying
do
to
about it.
address that. It's not a perfect world,
And
and
in today's world now, with all of the AI, people can upsize an image and remove a
yeah,
watermark.
yeah, yeah.
Sadly, it's, you know,
I
it
don't know.
just
I don't know where that's all going. So maybe I'll just have to be happy with boom. I got my sale. I got $1,000 sale.
where.
Whatever.
So
I'm not
I
gonna.
digress a little bit, but this is where it has to go. This is
Yeah.
what this is where the industry, and I don't know, it won't get there in my lifetime. I'm convinced of that. Where the
Hmm.
industry has to go is, as artists, we need to start being compensated for the art we create,
Yeah.
not how we deliver it. So
True. True.
so I
Good
would rather,
point.
I'd rather someone come in and say, "Hey, we love your Santa session, and we want, so we have a package that says, look, we will, for $300, or let's just say for $500, we'll do the session, and we will edit 2 images, and you get the files. And if you want to print anything, here's what we have, and you get all of this at cost plus 10%. But what I'd really like to do, if someone just wants 20 files, and that's what they wanted, they picked out, oh, we really like these. Okay, well then it's
Hmm.
whatever the number is, it's $2,500, and then you can buy all of this other stuff. So instead of me charging $4,500 for an album, I'll
Hmm.
just say, look, our cost on this album is $600. You get it for $660, or whatever, so that I'm being compensated for the
Yeah.
art, and then maybe we
Yeah.
charge a layout fee
That's
for the album.
that's the way I look at it.
Yeah,
I did that when weddings went digital back in 2000. I was like, we got to include the files. We just got to charge for it, and we did
correct,
right away.
correct.
But
Yeah,
so
I love what you're doing here. I love seeing your edits, of the before and after.
we do the ice fairies. They're not as popular, but we're
Really, with
yeah,
the whole Frozen thing, I would have thought
yeah.
that they would have been.
There's something about the forest that just. And then we do the medieval day. We got sometimes got a whole family in, and the dog, the dog's got that.
Right.
So these people drove in 2 hours. They're from, he's a pharmacist. They get involved in like amp guard
Yes.
type stuff.
Yeah, we have, Lori, what's that medieval fair that was Scarborough Fair that is here in Dallas, and it's here for months, it seems like.
That's what we do for the
Every spring.
boys. So these are medieval day pictures, but for boys, we have a lot of outfits that are like this or the knights.
Okay.
They seem to prefer the knights. So this little boy is now 13 years old. He's like 5'9", 10 inches tall. I did the family portrait last fall. The mom has done a boudoir session. I've done the sister's fairy session multiple times. Her sister, and 2 brothers as adults came in last fall for drunk fairies as a gift for mom. The mom's got everything, and they wanted to get something fun and quirky. So 4 adults dressed up as fairies and knights.
Right.
Adults in their 50s with a glass of wine.
That's awesome.
That's this kid's mom, and did that session for his gram.
That's fantastic. Well, Robert, let me, I don't want to drag this on too long for you and for everybody else. So let me see if there's any other questions, or y'all can unmute yourself. And if you want to ask a question or two while you're doing that, Robert, if there's anything else, I'm going to look through my notes and see if there's anything that we've not covered.
These are album Epoca, by the way.
Okay. Album Epoca. We are big H&H fans and love their albums, but we know not everybody buys from one lab.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to look through my notes of questions. Is there anything that I see here? Man, I think you've covered so much. So if y'all don't want to chime in and ask a question, ask in the chat, or
years ago, $37. That was your comment, right?
Yeah. So what do you think that when you did that newspaper ad is what that $37 you said y'all did? What do you think?
I created Fairy Day. I said, let's do a Fairy Day.
How much do you think what would be that same purchase today if they did the same deal? That 37 equates to how much today? 100? 125, you think?
120 is what we sell them for now.
Oh, okay.
So 37 was our intro. Then we went to 67. Then we went to 97. We were at 97 for many, many years. It's almost like a lost leader.
Right.
You don't want to go too low, because then you're going to get a lot of cheapos, but you want to pay something. and they have to pay before they come in. Tina will not book your time unless you're paid.
Same way with our Santa stuff.
Very
And
important.
and that's when we went from where we changed what we do, Robert, is we were at 125 session fee, and then we said it's a 125 session fee, and then you have a $200 minimum order once you came in. And that was hard to communicate. So we've kind of started changing that to where, look, we don't charge a session fee. It's $300 to book your session, and we will credit that $300 to your order when you come in.
And that's cool.
And we feel like that has eliminated some of those people that are only going to spend $100 or $200. But then the people that spend that, then when they come in and they purchase, it's kind of that money forgotten thing. Yeah. So they at least get a credit on their order. Like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And so we're almost now getting a minimum where we would get some minimum $200 purchases. We're now seeing minimum purchases that are more of that $500 or $600 because they've got the $300 credit and they really like some things they see. So they'll go and spend another $200 or $300.
Yeah.
So our smallest orders have kind of gotten away from that $200 mark and float between that. It's rare we have someone come in and not pay additional over the $300 they've paid.
I've been toying with the idea of charging like $1,000 or $800, but really explain what it is.
Yeah, I think that scares people away because I think what's going to happen there is, this is what I know from our Santa program and from me talking with other Santa photographers that were struggling, and that's what they had. They had a higher entry cost and they tried to explain it. But what happens is, I gave this exact discussion in our class last week. I said, you know what? I could stand at the Super Bowl in the center of the field with 100,000 people around there with a bullhorn and it dead quiet. And I would say, okay, everyone here that wants to spend, or everyone here that's and on the screen, you'll see one of our Santa images. Everyone in here, yell as loud as you can if you will come spend $1,000 or $2,000 with us on Santa pictures.
No.
it would be dead quiet.
Yeah. Boo.
But if I put that image up there and I said, look at this Santa work that we do.
Yeah.
Who out here will come book a session and pay $125 or pay $300? You'd have a ton of people.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it's our job to be good salespeople.
But the idea floats in my brain all the time.
Sure. Yeah, I think
if I can hit on a solution, I will.
Good luck. I mean, if you can figure it out, let me know, because I would love to every Santa session have a lot higher average, but I know doing that client that says there's no way I'm paying $1,000. If they booked a $200 or $300 session, the emotional part of their buy will get them to that album or that $3,000 order.
I think you got to get the people who are interested, so they're qualified, they have the money, they have the kids, they're not sure, and they need to have that explained possibly in multiple steps.
Yeah,
so get them in a like a funnel, an initial email, and explain it to them, then explain it again, and then explain it again. Then once they start to realize that they might paint in their picture, okay, all right, and you could offer a super guarantee. I don't know. I'm just toying with it.
Right. And to me, that's like you're paying a lot of rent to get into somebody's head. And can you be in there that long? I don't know. That's a tough one.
That's a formula that needs to be addressed. I 100% agree with you on that one. It needs to be figured out. I want to mention something about the mirror, the 4x4 foot plexiglass. We also use, when we go far, far away and we have minimal packing space, 4 foot wide, what's it called? It's like, I got it from Amazon. It's like the Mylar, silver Mylar.
Okay. You've done that and had success?
Yeah. And like first time I went and did it, I'm like, this isn't going to work. Nobody said a word.
And you got a good enough reflection?
I didn't really care for the reflection at that point in time because it's Ripley by nature. So it's already got waves and we just add more waves to it. And I don't really care about the reflection.
Okay.
But it worked. So just wanted to point that out. So.
Perfect. Well, as we wind this down, this is a last chance for any questions. I'll pull my microphone a little closer so I don't sound like I'm in the restroom or something. Any questions? I know that Lorraine has been asking a bunch in the chat. I don't see anything else. Robert, I am going to take you up on this offer to do a workshop, and I'll tell you what we'll do is I think most everybody on here is friends with me, so if y'all will shoot me a message that you're interested in the workshop, then once Robert and I figure this out, we will make sure that you guys get a special code or something to save a little extra money on it for taking time out of your day to be here to chat with us. And Robert, I have one last question. I'm looking over your shoulder. If you look over this shoulder, you see a camera hanging there. And I look over your shoulder, I see a very similar camera. So which one is that? I have to ask, which one do you have?
That's the Mamiya C220. This is vintage.
Yeah, and this one here, mine is a rolly cord. I've got it hung up here.
All right.
It's built between 1949 and 1953, and it works. I have film. I'm going to shoot it, and then I just bought yesterday for $50. I don't even know the name, but it's more of a Japanese, but it's the same style camera. But my dream camera, what I told Lori I wanted for Christmas, but not that y'all care, is I want a perfectly mint Rolleiflex, like a 2.8 or a 3.5. And
I used to use those.
I've seen some on eBay, and they're not horribly nice. I mean, they're expensive. They're a great, really nice gift from your wife for Christmas. But some of them, either they're just perfectly restored or they're just mint cameras. Those are gorgeous pieces of equipment.
And they're sharp. I've never seen anything sharper.
Yeah, I'm really excited to, I'm hoping we can take some time off either at Imaging USA or next spring. And I want to take that camera and I want to get permission from a bunch of the distilleries in Kentucky because I'm a bourbon guy. My logo is, I've got a new microphone that's sitting in house. It just came in. It's a 1950s Shure Fat Boy. It was the microphone that Elvis used. That's going to be my new microphone.
Nice.
I've got this camera, and then I've got a glass of bourbon, and I'm going to photograph it and make that my logo for a bit overexposed. But I'm wanting to do the bourbon trail and get permission to shoot at a bunch of these distilleries, and I want to go shoot on one of those old cameras and shoot some black and white film or what have you.
So your bio shot, you're holding the snifter. That's bourbon.
Yes, that's an AI shot that
great shot, by the way. I love it. And I was showing it to a buddy of mine who's 57.
Yep.
And he's got short hair. He kind of looks like you. And I said to him, you got to let your hair grow like Chris. And I showed him. Look at that flow. That
was, I think the prompt I used was the most interesting man in the world holding a glass of bourbon. And then there's a tool that you can use through Discord and an app and everything where it will take your selfie and it will put it on the image that was created.
Oh, nice.
And that's all I did. It took me a couple of minutes to make that. But
it was a good shot. I love it.
It's a lot of fun. I like it too. Okay. Any other questions? Last chance for everyone, and we're going to wind this down.
Thanks, y'all.
So I don't know what episode this is. I've got to number them, but Robert, it was great having you on a bit overexposed. And I'm excited to have some more conversation with you one-on-one. And we are going to, I'm committed to really having a kick-ass fairy program. And you've got me really excited to quit putting my perfectionist and my OCD-ness aside. And just, as they say, I just got to do it. You just have to do it.
True.
All right. Thanks, everyone. I will share this in the groups so that y'all can come back and look at it later.